I'm Stacey Holmes, and this is Glordinary, a few moments where we celebrate God's glory and champion the ordinary. I'm glad you're here. The other night, my youngest daughter, Livia, and I were watching a show on HGTV. We love popping on one of these shows to see some of the crazy designs or the insane budgets that house hunting people have. I'm a basket weaver and my budget's $1.7 million. Wow, that is not exactly my tier of finances. But on this particular evening, we were watching a home renovation competition with 4 teams of designers, and each week a different room of a house is built, staged, and judged for its design, aesthetic, function, flow. You get the gist. And this night, one particular designer caught my ear. She had won that week's challenge to design a bedroom and a bathroom, and in her interview afterward, she said through tears, "Finally, all the hard work, this win shows I am enough. Exactly who I am. I am enough." Ugh, my heart sank. I immediately looked at Liv and said, "Don't listen to her, that's bad theology." But honestly, I am her. Well, I'm not a designer. Hardly. I don't even own a tablecloth. True story. But as I was snuggling with Liv, I got what this designer meant when she attempted to convince herself, I'm enough. Exactly who I am enough. Yep, I hear that. How often do I find myself craving the same affirmations from my work, my friends, husband, kids, my parents? How often am I beating back the tides of insecurity, feelings of just not quite measuring up? Society tells me, shoot, even some self-proclaimed Christians tell me, I just got to speak some positive self-talk mantras, daily affirmations, and embrace my inner goddess. But deep down, I know. And that designer, she knows too. She's not enough. Never has been. Never will be. And neither am I. You're not enough either. And that, my friend, is the good news. Womp womp. What? No, really. I promise. That's the good news. So let's talk about one of the oldest lies in the book. You are enough. On our series, Did God Really Say? So pour yourself another cup of joe. Here we go. Last week, we chatted a bit about that deceptive little snake in the garden. You know what I'm talking about. That smooth-talking, subtle liar that's infiltrating our thoughts, beliefs, culture, and even our churches. The one slithering right past objective truth into subjective truth of preference, opinion, and perspective of your truth, my truth, their truth, oy vey. And I've got to plant us in the garden for a bit longer because many of our biggest lies come straight out of Eden. Well, Eden post-snake. And it's time to shed that skin, if you know what I mean. So let's take one more walk around the garden, and I'm going to lay out my case for you in Genesis 3. But I need to backtrack one verse to Genesis 2:25. Here we go. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Well, thanks for that imagery, Stace. Just hang with me. It's important. We've got to establish our baseline here. They were both naked, unclothed, nowhere to hide, no reason to hide, not even a thought to hide. Adam and Eve were both naked, and yet they felt no shame. They felt no need to cover up. They were completely satisfied, fulfilled, complete, secure, and covered, despite being uncovered. That's the baseline, the starting place, wholly vulnerable with God, unashamed. But a snake's got a snake. Chapter 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals that the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? Drop down with me to verse 6. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Then their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked. Ugh. Friend, it is not just that their literal eyes were opened. The Hebrew for the words opened and realized, it means to understand, perceive, to acknowledge. It carries with it the weight of, ugh. They know. You know this place. I know this place. This deep weight when you just know. You know that something has just drastically shifted, and not for the good. You see, when Genesis 2:25 says they were naked yet felt no shame, that word shame in Hebrew is a word that means much more than just to be ashamed. It also conveys confusion, disappointment, anxiety, even an inference to the feelings of delay and unmet expectations. So Adam and Eve were naked, yet they felt no confusion, no disappointment, no anxiety, no waiting and delay, no unmet expectations. And what was once merely unclothed and vulnerable with God is now exposed and vulnerable to God. And as quickly as they took that bite, their quote-unquote enoughness was swallowed up forever. Their eyes were opened and they realized they were naked. They were not enough, and nothing they could do could cover what was uncovered in that moment. That relationship would never be the same. But this was not God's baseline, His storyline for our lives. This was never the goal of the garden. But that master manipulator is ever so subtle in his lies. We even see this play out in the original language. It doesn't really play so well in English, but I'm going to do my best to translate for you. So we see in Genesis 2:25, and then the next verse, which is Genesis 3:1, that the man and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Now the serpent was more crafty. Both the Hebrew word for naked and the Hebrew word for crafty come from nearly identical words. Nearly identical. One means nude, the other means shrewd. And while they rhyme in English, in Hebrew, they're nearly identical words. Nearly identical. Almost identical. He is a master manipulator, leaving Adam and Eve no longer just naked, but stripped naked. Remember, the man and his wife were always naked until the shrewd one left them nude, stripped of security, stripped of confidence, satisfaction, stripped of fulfillment. The shrewd one left them stripped nude, full of shame, filled with confusion, disappointment, anxiety, delay, and riddled with unmet expectations. Relate much? And we've felt this way ever since. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Friend, we've been sewing fig leaves ever since, doing our darndest to cover back up with accomplishments, accolades, awards, degrees, our appearance, our keeping up with the Joneses, to cover our quote-unquote nakedness with our own righteousness. Except we can't. And as hard as I try, I will never be good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, skinny enough. No matter what I do, what I study, how hard I hustle, I will never be rich enough, strong enough, fit enough, nice enough, loving enough, giving enough. I can't say enough positive affirmations. I can't love myself first so I can love others best. I can't manifest my supreme future. It will not work because I am not enough, and neither are you. And that's the good news. Because as Elisa Childers, author of Live Your Truth and Other Lies, writes, you don't have to be enough because Jesus already is. I am not enough. You are not enough. And there are no amount of fig leaves to cover up what was ultimately uncovered that day in the garden. Christ is the covering, once and for all. Oh, but we try. We are master tailors at this point for all the fig leaves that we keep using. After all, God helps those who help themselves, right? Well, no. That's another one old Snake Eyes fed us. And that's exactly where we'll pick it up next week when we chat about all the ways we keep trying to cover up. So when you're feeling those anxious thoughts of not measuring up, not being enough, take heart. God already knows we aren't, but Jesus is. Thanks be to God. Remember, you're not alone in this. I'm praying for you, friend. Have a glordinary day.